Happy Friday morning, darlings. Thank you so much for joining me this week as we walk through Colossians 1, 9 through 14. We've really gone through the whole week just to get to this set of scriptures, these couple of sentences that we are going to get to of Paul's heart expressing very intentional language. He was using things like a transfer and out of a dominion of darkness into marvelous light. That some of the words that he uses in just 2 sentences here to close out just this paragraph of text is so phenomenal. And sometimes I think we just skim over it, but really and truly it is the bedrock of just the beauty of our faith. It is what makes what we have been afforded the opportunity to live out so tremendous. It makes it different than everything else, and he knew that, writing to the Colossian church, that what he was expressing was different than everything they were seeing. We talked about yesterday how right there in the Greek and Roman cultures that they were looking for power from outside sources that would never satisfy, and he knew that he needed to use language that would completely embody everything that they needed to have, that they needed that full transfer, that they were fully empowered to live out their calling, that God had given them everything that they needed to walk that out. We've talked about that this week. And we've really gone through this for these couple of sentences. I'm going to start in verse 12 for us today. It says, "Giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us to a kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins." I read over that, and sometimes I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just trying to make it from A to Z. I'm just trying to, and really, let's just be real honest, I'm just trying to make it from point A to point B most days. That I'm just trying to get the laundry done. I'm just trying to get through packing lunches or getting to different activities or different ball games or different practices, or I'm just trying to get through the day alive, quite honestly, most days. And then thinking about talking about realms of darkness and being transferred into God's marvelous light and a kingdom of his beloved Son doesn't just regularly run through my mind. But when I read what it says in the study text, how it says, just as God had rescued his people from slavery in Egypt under the old covenant, now in this new covenant that that God had provided the atonement of his Son, that Jesus had come, his beloved Son had come so that I could live under the covenant of this new glorious life, that I could have full light at my disposal at any point in time, that whether it's overcoming my mound of laundry or flying across the country or across the globe to proclaim Jesus' name as great and mighty and glorified. It doesn't matter. In both of those scenarios, I can have at my disposal God's full and perfect power, and I can live out just like every other saint in light. Exactly what Paul was expressing here in this text, and that is something that I'm just being honest, that there's a lot of emotion that wells up in my throat, because like I said, most days I'm just trying to make it from A to B. Like, forget all the way to Z. I'm just trying to get to B. And so to think that I could have at my disposal God's marvelous light, that I could live in that kingdom in my normal day, driving in my Suburban, I could live under the covenant of God's marvelous light. It's just extraordinary to me. I want it to be extraordinary to you too. I want you to receive, just stop in your spirit long enough to almost feel the awe of that, the awe of Paul penning that with his pen. That as he was thinking that thought, that marvelous thought, that he was expressing to them that they had been transferred from a dominion of darkness into God's marvelous light. And I'll tell you how to get a fresh perspective on that. Talk to someone that has been bound by just the most dark and oppressive addiction and that has been completely broken free. Talk to someone that has lived under something so oppressive and so abusive, and they have just broken out, and God has just pulled things back from their eyes, and they are living every day under the marvelous light. You want to talk about a fresh dose of grace? That's exactly what you need to do. And there is no difference in your life or my life that we should feel that same just blessing that comes off our tongue when we talk about being transferred from a dominion of darkness into God's marvelous light. That he has given us every treasure, that the most precious treasures that he had for his beloved Son, he is giving to you and to me. That is beyond marvelous. And Paul does such an extraordinary job of expressing it here to the Colossian church, just as he's expressing it to us, to you and to me today. I have written on the side of my Bible Luke 1:79, and I flipped over, and it's kind of the fullest measure of John the Baptist's parents expressing their excitement over John the Baptist coming onto the scene, which ultimately would lead to Jesus coming on the scene. And I love how he expresses the text here about Jesus coming. And it says in verse 78, actually, this is Luke 1:78, and Zechariah is expressing just complete blessing to God for what he's about to provide for all of humanity, for all of creation. And he says, because of the tender mercy of our God, whereby the sunrise shall visit us from on high. I mean, just like you and I are meeting together week after week here and doing this Good Morning Darling, can you just receive that God himself is visiting, the sunrise is visiting us every day? That wherever you slip away, whether it be in your closet or in the bathroom, or you have some beautiful quiet little nook in your house where you just can tuck in and just be with God, or you have got a desk, or it's in your car, or wherever you're meeting with God, that in that moment of just that exchange with you and the heavenly places, that the sunrise comes to you right there. And God says to you, good morning, darling. I mean, just receive that for just a second, how glorious that is. It's so profound. It's so moving. It should unearth you in the most marvelous way to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What a wonderful blessing in 79 to give light to those who sit in darkness. I don't know about you, but there are some places in my life that I am just so grateful that God just exposes them into the light, that he pulls those isolated thoughts out of darkness. He pulls those fears out of darkness. He strips those out of the darkness, and he spreads his marvelous light all over those. And he guides my feet into the way of peace. That's what we want. That's what I'm after. That's what I'm after. That's what we're after, to seek God's peace. And the way we do it is let his light shine on us. Let the sunrise rise over you. Let the sunrise fall fresh on you today. If you've not thought about it in eons, if you've not thought about it ever, if you thought about it yesterday, think about it fresh today, that the sunrise wants to rise up in you. And that as we complete just this week of teaching out of Colossians 1, that something changes in you, that something about this idea of walking in a manner worthy of our calling, that some light bulb has clicked on, that it is about being transferred from a dominion of darkness into God's marvelous light, into the kingdom, that we can enjoy the treasures that he held back for his beloved Son. He is now opening wide to us. That every single day when the sun rises, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not asking us to walk around like we live in fairylands. I'm actually asking for the opposite. I'm asking, because life is hard, because there is darkness all over us, that we let the light rise. That is what Paul was expressing to the Colossian church, and that is what I am expressing to you, that we let the light rise. May you be encouraged in the weeks to come to let the light rise, and may you never read Colossians 1:9-14 the same again. I cannot wait to see what God unfolds in the next weeks of Good Morning Darling, but thank you so much for joining me this week.